Hi, my name is Rob and welcome to Book Reviews in 5 Minutes or Less. Today's video explores the sophomore novel of Ian Fleming and the second book in the James Bond series, Live and Let Die. The book was first published in 1954. Perhaps best known today for its theme by Paul McCartney that can be heard across classic rock stations nationwide, Live and Let Die is not only one of the more forgettable movies of the Roger Moore era, but of Fleming's 13 Bond books. Although a cursory read of Live and Let Die will quickly explain why. My expectations were high for Live and Let Die, and unfortunately the book ended up being a mixed bag. James Bond, of course, returns as our protagonist, and the role of antagonist is filled by Mr. Big this time. Mr. Big runs his operations through Harlem, New York, and is rumored to be the Voodoo Baron of Death. Bond is going after Mr. Big due to his rumored involvement with a lost treasure, Bloody Morgan's treasure in fact, that is being used to fund Soviet espionage operations in America. Plus, Mr. Big is supposedly a member of SMERSH, with the organization that Bond wants to get revenge after the events of Casino Royale. Mr. Big himself has some great monologues, and it's clear he can outsmart Bond at multiple turns. However, the book has a huge problem when it comes to both gender and race. One could say, well, it was the 1950s, and that might wash away most of what Fleming puts in this book. But it was published in 1954, not even 10 years before the civil rights movement here in the United States. Furthermore, the casual racism by not only Bond, but more so by his love interest Solitaire in this book, is so frequent that it takes you out of the book multiple times as a reader. Meanwhile, the talents of the good fight scenes, a possible great villain, and the side character Felix Leiter are wasted because of it. I might sound like I'm overstating what happens in this book, but at one point, Bond and Felix go to one of Harlem's establishments where the specialist chicken and Bond smells marijuana. Meanwhile, Bond listens in on a conversation between two regular folks in Harlem, and whatever way Fleming thinks they speak is so cartoonish it's unbelievable. Meanwhile, apparently just about every black person in the book, whether it be in New York, Florida, and Jamaica, are afraid of Mr. Big. But not because he runs a giant criminal organization that could easily murder them. No, they're afraid because he'll get them because he's a voodoo baron of death. Every single racial stereotype is dragged out here, and it proceeds to beat the reader over the head. Meanwhile, Bond, for the second book in a row, doesn't listen to his female companion about possible trouble, and of course, it lands him in trouble. The Bond of this novel doesn't so much act like a spy like in Casino Royale, but instead stumbles from location to location, being outsmarted by Mr. Big and surviving by luck. I also found Solitaire to be a less likable love interest in Vesper Lynn and far less interesting. So what's the verdict? If you could look past the racism and other issues with the book, you may be able to enjoy it. Do I suggest reading it? If you're the type of person who needs to read every book in this series, I'd say go ahead. But otherwise, this might be one of the 2 books in the whole Bond series worth skipping. But that's my thoughts on the matter. What do you think? Comment below and let me know what you think of Live and Let Die by Ian Fleming.